What's the most tech-illiterate thing you've seen a person do? Wasting an entire tech budget on peripherals, with no computers to attach them to. My professor wants to take a photo with an iPad instead of a phone so that it would look larger when uploaded. There are a few people here at work who will take a picture at the job site, print the picture, scan the picture to their email from the copier, and then forward the email to the recipient. My dad, who is 95 and completely computer illiterate, knows that you can look up anything on a computer but doesn't know the right words. He was talking about an old boxer the other day. I think it was Jack Dempsey. He stated some stats of his career, and when I expressed surprise he said, "Go look it up on your eBay. They'll tell you I'm right." Quote, old lady asking someone to withdraw money at the ATM and giving strangers the PIN for her card because she didn't know how to do it. She does this regularly. Using a mouse upside down was pretty funny to see. This was a while ago. My mom makes a new folder every time she uploads a new picture. She has like 600 folder with 1 or 2 pictures each. She doesn't see the problem. Trading computer monitors with someone so they could see how their desktop was set up. This girl I know took off the W key on her keyboard and switched it with her key and was super confused when the key binds weren't switched. I'm in a high school engineering course, and we were doing 3D modeling on laptops. This one girl, who was clearly just there to fulfill graduation requirements, used the trackpad every day for over a week. And if you've ever tried 3D modeling with a trackpad, then you know it just doesn't work. Eventually, I asked her why, and she responded, "My mouse doesn't fit," and proceeded to prove to me that her mouse USB, in fact, does not fit into the SD card slot. It still amazes me that a 16-year-old kid who has grown up in the 21st century does not know how to plug in a computer mouse. I work in a cell phone store. I have had on more than one occasion customers get mad at me that I can't access other people's text messages. My Nana once asked my granddad to turn her laptop on for when she got home. He ended up ringing her because he couldn't find the button to turn it on. So she was getting annoyed, saying it's right there in the top right corner. After a minute or two of utter confusion, she stopped, laughed, and asked if he'd opened the lid of the laptop. He asked, "What lid?" Asked the client to restart her computer, and she proceeds to unplug it. I work in web dev, which includes some occasional photo manipulation. One client brought in an old photo of her great-grandfather with his back to the camera. She wanted me to turn him around in Photoshop so she could see his face. Another client got absolutely livid with me that I couldn't take the hyperlinked words from her webpage, port them over to her print ad, and still have them function like a link. We had a supply for IT class at school once who asked some kid how to make a folder. He didn't know, and said maybe I would know. I did know. Christopher Paul Neal, TL, Doctor. A child molester is caught after posting scrambled pictures of his face which police simply unscrambled. Edit. Some are saying it wasn't easy, but I'll put it to you like this. I first heard about this story during a programming lecture. The entire class laughed. I can point out why it can be accomplished if it's wanted. Supervisor: well, we could ask IT, but there's nothing they could really do about it, because she couldn't identify the issue with my computer. IT wouldn't be able to fix it or help at all. Type Google in a Google search engine search box. A woman in her 30s. Emo too young to be this technically illiterate given this was in 2017. Was trying to plug in the female side of a power cable to a wall outlet. And when it was missing, the prongs came to the logical assumption they had broken off and gotten stuck in the wall. I saw all of this in person while she was on the phone with her port tech support guy, probably confused on how this woman tore the prongs off of her power cable. She figured it out before I left, but it was a sight to see. Dumbest. Ordering 4 of something they wanted 2 of because they could not understand that something being sold as a 2-pack will appear in a digital card as one item. That one was tech illiterate bordering on regular illiterate. I got fully fucking shouted at in public for trying to prevent that waste of money. I've also been snapped at and called an idiot for telling an older relative you don't need to manually type https www at the beginning of every URL. Stands out in my mind the most. Having an email app and Microsoft Word open at the same time and being absolutely at a loss about how to switch between them. Like, I opened Word but now I need to go back to my emails. Where are my emails? Where did my emails go? Like, you're just in another window. You can see the tab with your emails right there at the bottom of the screen. It took a few minutes to realize what she wanted to do because she couldn't articulate it in an understandable way, and absolutely could not understand any way I tried to ask for clarification. I was blown away once I grasped that this was really the extent of the problem. A few minutes later it was okay. I closed Word to look at my emails. How do I get my Word back? You closed it? Did you save it? I don't know what that means. I just closed it. Did something pop up and ask you if you wanted to save? Maybe. I just X out things that pop up. You might have deleted your document. I didn't delete it. I just closed it. I just need to go back to where I just was. Why is this so hard? Quote, it took several minutes of causing her more overwhelmed frustration thinking she had deleted her work to figure out she had not closed it. She had minimized it successfully but couldn't figure out how to minimize the email app. This is genuinely a very smart person generally. But as soon as technology gets involved it truly is like trying to communicate across a hard language barrier. Edit, small typo. My girlfriend's grandma thought that people's profile pictures were pictures that they sent to her. My grandfather took 2 buses to work every day. Like in many cities, his city offers a transport pass. He doesn't want any cards, so he paid for each individual ticket in cash. My grandmother told him it would be cheaper to have a transport pass. Once at work, he nearly got fired because he refused to upgrade his computer from MS-DOS. This was in 2014. He eventually upgraded to Windows XP, which I think stopped being sold around that time. He does not have a smartphone or a tablet. He retired a couple of years ago. It infuriates me when I see someone being way too specific with their Google searches and then complain when they can't find anything. What is the best way for someone to remove a stain from their bed sheets but keep the quality of the fabric the same and not ruin the sheet and not have to buy new sheets? Quote, my economics teacher didn't know how to full screen a YouTube video. He was like in his early 20s. My brother had a Zoom wedding 2 months ago. Several relatives in their 60s were taking pictures of the screens. Someone who also insisted on printing anything and everything also covered up the second monitor with a piece of paper because they didn't need it. Everyone there had 2 monitors at their workstation and it was really damn necessary. This person insisted it was distracting and there was nothing they couldn't do without it. A guy my husband was friends with back in the day asked for help with a computer virus he had. When we showed up, he had unplugged the computer and everything else in the room. We asked why. He said, I didn't want the virus to spread. He was serious. Okay, I've got 2. Both of these are old ladies in the workplace. Need to walk a user through changing of a value. We went through 5 agonizing minutes over the telephone about click this. Read the error message. Click something else. Finally set the value. She says, now it says you have successfully changed a value. Okay, cancel. Which one should I click? The fact she was willing to cancel all of our work just made me lose hope that she understood anything of what we were doing. User says she somehow got her laptop screen turned upside down, rotated 180, and she couldn't do anything. Even use the mouse to undo the setting. I confirmed with her that she could see the mouse cursor move on the screen. I said, have you tried turning the mouse upside down? Then you can move the pointer intuitively to click on things to rectify the problem. She said that was a crazy suggestion, and no, it didn't help. Later, she told me that in following my suggestion she had flipped the mouse on its back, like with her hand on the laser and the buttons on the desk. My mom will print out funny memes that she sees on Facebook and she keeps them in a folder in her filing cabinet. I saw an elderly man open up Microsoft Word and take out a marker and start writing on the page on the screen. This was about 20 years ago, way before tablets and smart pens. Oh man, I worked in a cell phone store for 10 plus years and encountered a lot of people who didn't know the basics of technology or electronics. A few of my favorites include the kid who didn't understand why his phone didn't work anymore after taking it in the shower with him to text his girlfriend. The lady that refused to buy a new phone unless I could guarantee she would be able to plug it into her air conditioner. The landscaper who swore at me because I told him I couldn't fix his flip phone after he'd ran it over with a lawnmower, shredding it into tiny pieces. And my absolute favorite was a little old lady that would come in every other week because she would either forget that she needed to charge her phone for it to work, or forgot how to turn it back on after having charged it. She would also sit at the front of the store to listen to her voicemails on speakerphone, because she thought she couldn't listen to them anywhere else. Edit. I almost forgot the guy that took its screwdriver. Looked more like he used a jackhammer to remove the Bixby button from a Samsung Galaxy Active because it was stuck. His excuse was that we'd told him he could remove it easily. Spoiler, we didn't. Edit 2. I also just remembered the college kid that dropped his flip phone in beer at a kegger and thought it would be a good idea to dry it out by putting it on a light bulb. Not a lampshade, a light bulb. That fucker melted all the way through the screen and left a gaping 2-inch hole. My English techer didn't know how to put a YouTube video full screen. She tried for 10 minutes then asked 4 kids to help her. When my parents upgraded their Mac maybe 5 or 8 years ago, it was the new kind where there's no tower. They did realize that, so they called to say, hey, you only sent the monitor, no tower. The kicker is that the Apple lady apologized and sent another computer. She didn't know there was no tower, so she sent along an entirely new computer. My parents eventually sent one back because they're too honest. Just ridiculous that the rep for the company wouldn't know the absolute most basic thing about their new model. What it looks like. Uncle needs step-by-step instructions to minimize a window or open a new tab. It's been explained to him dozens of times. A while back, one of my coworkers called a few people together to show them a new trick. They had just gotten off of a call from a supplier, and the boss and supply rep were going over a PDF. The supply rep told the boss to do Ctrl+F to find specific parts of the PDF troubleshooting section, I think. The boss had been scrolling for like 15 minutes reading the PDF line by line to get to the troubleshooting section while the supply rep was on the line. I only caught the tail end of the conversation where the boss was showing people that you could use Ctrl+F to find thing in that specific document. A majority of the people boss had called over were in shock at such a technological innovation. I just stood there, shook my head, and tried not to impulsively blurt out that Ctrl+F had been a function for quite a while and that it worked on more than that specific PDF. My boss, the guy doing the pat testing, has broken my computer. Me, how has he broken it? My boss, it won't switch on. Me, that's the monitor. Switch it on at the computer. My boss, this is the computer. Me, no, that is the monitor. What is the black box on the floor? My boss, a printer. Me, what? Late 90s woman legit through the CD-ROM tray that slid out was a cup holder. We used to pull pranks on my grandmother all of the time, and she was a good sport about it. I taped a sign to the microwave saying, voice activated. then proceeded to watch her stick her coffee in there and say, 30 seconds please. Once the computer got lost, my cousin's grandmother proceeded to create a new Facebook account. Since, the other one was in the other computer and this one was new, my husband keeps accidentally changing the keyboard on his phone to Korean and I have to show him how to get the English one back every time. My little sister used to type her friends' names into her phone, i.e., my friend John Doe, expecting the phone to know who she was wanting to call. Back around 2009, my dad was pretty sure that partition was just the more official term for folder. Not really sure how he got the idea, but he sure ran with it. That was a pretty painful time. Not least for my brother who was studying computer science at the time and was therefore tasked as the laptop unfucker, not knowing how to make a file or a folder, not knowing any key combinations, typing with one finger at a time, not knowing how to install literally anything.